or else he is like a poor man who suddenly finds a treasure. The ascetic, who has meditated and analyzed the disadvantages of kamadhetu and who sees the importance of the benefits and qualities of the first dhyana, feels great joy. This is why it is called savitarka. Investigation and savikara. Analysis. Question. Are vitarka, investigation, and vikara, analysis, one and the same thing, or are they two different things? Answer. They are two different things. Vitarka, investigation, is the first moment of a coarse mind. Vikara, analysis, is a more subtle analysis. Thus, when a bell is struck, the first sound is strong, the subsequent sound is weaker. This is vikara, analysis. Question. In the Abhidharma it is said that, from kamadhetu until the first dhyana, a single mind is associated with vitarka, investigation, and vikara, analysis. Why do you say that vitarka, investigation, is the first moment of a coarse mind, whereas vikara, analysis, is a more subtle analysis? Answer. Although the two things reside in the same mind, their characteristics are not simultaneous. At the moment of vitarka, investigation, the vikara, analysis, is blurred. At the moment of vikara, analysis, the vitarka, investigation, is blurred. Thus, when the sun rises, the shadows disappear. All the minds and all the mental events receive their name prorata with time. Vitarka, investigation, and vikara, analysis, are distinct names of one single mind. Thus the Buddha said, "If you cut one single thing, I claim that you will become an anagamin." This single thing is avarice. Really, it should be said that the 5 fetters of lower rank must disappear in order that one may become anagamin. Why did he say that it is necessary to cut just one single thing? Because avarice abounded in his questioner and the other fetters came from that. Therefore it sufficed for that person to destroy avarice in order to cut through the other fetters at the same time. Similarly here, vitarka, investigation, and vikara, analysis, take their name prorata from time. Second dhyana. The ascetic knows that although they are good, vitarka, investigation, and vichara disturb the mind that is in absorption. By mental renunciation, he condemns vitarka, investigation, and vikara, analysis, and has this thought: vitarka, investigation, and vikara, analysis, disturb the mind of dhyana. As when pure water is disturbed by waves, nothing can be seen anymore. When a tired and weary man regains his breath and wants to sleep, when his neighbor calls him, that makes him very annoyed. It is for all these reasons that he condemns vitarka, investigation, and vikara, analysis. According to the definition given by the Buddha, the ascetic, by suppressing examination and judgment, enters into the second dhyana, one-pointedness of mind, without examination, without judgment, arisen from concentration, which is joy and happiness. In possession of the second dhyana, he obtains the priti and sukha of the second dhyana, incomparable joy and happiness not previously acquired until that moment. By the suppression of examination and judgment, they have disappeared because the ascetic knows their defects. This dhyana is inner peace, for, by entering into this profound absorption, the ascetic has given up the vitarka, investigation, and vikara, analysis, of the first dhyana by means of faith. The benefit is important, the loss minimal and the gain considerable. This dhyana is called inner peace as a result of fixing the mind on one object. Third dhyana. The ascetic sees the defects of priti as he has seen those of vitarka, Investigation and Vichara. Analysis. According to the place occupied by the object of enjoyment, sometimes it is joy, sometimes sadness that dominates. Why is that? Thus, for example, when a poor man finds a treasure, his joy is immense. But, as soon as he loses it, his sadness is profound. The joy changes into sadness. This is why, according to the definition of the Buddha, the ascetic, by renouncing joy, remains in equanimity, reflecting, aware. He experiences this physical happiness which only the saints are capable of renouncing. Reflecting, remaining in bliss, he enters into the third dhyana. Free and faulty translation of the Dhyana Sutra, L.C. Pritar Viragat Upeksako Viharati Samrtiman Samprajanan Suksam Kakana Pradasam Vidayati Yat Tad Arya Akoksate Upeksaka Samrtiman Sukhaviharati Naspridakam Triti Yam Dhyanam Upasampati Viharati. He remains in equanimity, for he abandons any feeling of joy and feels no regret. He remains reflecting and fully aware, for, having obtained the bliss of the third dhyana, he prevents bliss from arousing torments. He experiences physical happiness, for he experiences, with his entire body, the bliss of the third dhyana. This bliss which only the aryas are capable of abandoning. This bliss being the most outstanding in the world to call forth attachment of the mind and which ordinary people rarely renounce. Also the Buddha said that the practice of loving kindness is the foremost in the Pure Lands. Fourth dhyana. The ascetic sees the defects of sukha as he has seen those of priti. He knows that immovability of the mind is very superior to that, for wherever there is movement, there is suffering. Since he is moved by the sukha of the third dhyana, the ascetic seeks non-movement. According to the definition of the Buddha, by the cessation of bliss and by the cessation of suffering. By the previous suppression of joy and sadness, the ascetic enters into the fourth dhyana, free of suffering and bliss, purified in renunciation and reflection. In the fourth dhyana, there is no more suffering or happiness, but only non-moving wisdom. This is why the fourth dhyana is called purified as to renunciation and reflection. By contrast, the third dhyana, because of the movement evoked by the bliss, is called suffering. Therefore the fourth dhyana is free of suffering and bliss. First samapatti. According to the definition of the Buddha, the ascetic, having surpassed any notion of matter, neglecting any notion of multiplicity, suppressing any notion of resistance, enters into the sphere of infinity of space. The ascetic thinks thus: wherever matter is absent, there one escapes from the sufferings of hunger and thirst, cold and heat. Physical matter is coarse, bad, deceptive, and unreal. It is as a result of the complex of causes and conditions of the former life that we inherit this body, the receptacle of all sorts of pains. How can these bodily torments be avoided? The space present in the body must be considered. Then the ascetic ceaselessly considers the space of the body like that in a cage or a pot. By endlessly thinking thus, he is freed from matter and no longer sees the body. And the same for external matter as for the inner bodily space. Then the ascetic can contemplate immense infinite space. When he has mastered this contemplation, he feels neither sadness nor happiness, and his mind progresses. He is like a bird closed up in a cage that finds its freedom when the cage is broken. This is the akasa samapatti. Second samapatti. This immense and infinite space is grasped by the intellect. This vast object distracts the ascetic and can even destroy his absorption. Contemplating space. The ascetic sees feelings, notions, formations, and consciousnesses which seem to him to be a sickness, an ulcer, a wound and an arrow, transitory, painful, empty and non-self, an accumulation of deceits without true reality. Thinking in this way, he abandons the akasa object and holds only the consciousness. Does he hold the present?